Okay. Hello again. Ready for one more session? That'll be me. First question to you. Now, Rune had a lot of questions to you guys. So I also have one. How many of you guys think that cool tech is absolutely the best? New technology, smart things. How many? More? No more? Okay. How about law stuff? Thick books, lots of things. How many things? How many turns on this one? Just a few? Okay. So what I've done in this one, what you see now, I tried to balance this a little. So much law stuff and so much tech, because I anticipated that the tech would be most interesting for you guys. But there will be some law stuff, because this is what this year is all about. There'll come some more. The previous presentation I had was in the dark mode, which I personally find is absolutely amazing. So I do this in VS Code when I was in VS Code, and then I did it here as well on the last at Christmas. However, it turned out that what I did not know, that when it's dark mode, it's hard to read on a big screen. So today I switched the opposite. The last time dark mode, many demos. This time white mode, 0 demos. So you ready? Okay. If you go and try a new car, go to a car dealer. Should hopefully be a good exercise, good experience for you. I did that a few months back, and these guys, they came to me. Can you show me an ID? Can you show me your driver's license? And they scanned it for obvious reasons. Of course they do. I did not buy the car, by the way. And then, very recently, then I got this mail in my personal mailbox. And this is in Danish. Most of you will be able to read it. So it turns out that these guys, they have kept this piece of information. And I've put something in red, the darknet, my CPR number, my driver's license. It's all there. Not a pleasant surprise. Not a pleasant surprise. And then you could say, okay, whatever. I have nothing to hide. What is the problem with all of this? I mean, I am who I am. I've not done anything illegal, so who cares? So that's the start of another story. Some time back, I received an ordinary mail, an envelope in my mailbox, some time back, and I have scanned it in. I've scanned in the header. It's from this company here. They wanted me to pay something. Never heard about it before. No, nothing. One big question mark. It popped up in my mailbox. I asked my wife, do you know anything about this? My kids, of course the kids. No, they didn't know. No one knew. So then I started to dig into this. So here's the timeline for it. Someone, and I still don't know who it was, someone had fetched my name, my private address, my CPR number from wherever. I don't go, I'm of course cautious with these things, as most people are, but they have fetched it. Then they have acquired a prepaid SIM and an anonymous Gmail account. Then they went into Komplett. How many of you know Komplett? Yeah, you buy IT stuff, you buy mobile phones, you buy whatever. They typed in my CPR number, my name, my address, and then they bought some stuff. And then we go to checkout. Instead of paying via credit card, you can click on Klarna, and you can click on credit, 2 weeks credit. So then you're paying after 2 weeks. And then they requested, that's the next thing. Then they requested it to be delivered at a package shop. And they typed in that prepaid SIM mobile number instead of my number. All of this I found out afterwards. All of this I'm telling you now. Then they went to, after 1 week, it's delivered to the package shop. They go there with the prepaid phone, they set my name, they get the package with the mobile phone and whatever they have bought. And then after 2 weeks, these Klarna guys, they would like to see some money. And they have my real address. And then they send me this snail mail. Please pay, or bad things will happen to you. So, for this one, I did not even have lost my driver's license. And why is the driver's license important? Because the driver's license is a valid picture ID. It's even worse than what you see here. So, I work with IT. I work with Snowflake. Been doing that for many, many years. I'm a senior person, as some of you can see. And these legal guys and all these compliance guys, they're just giving me trouble. But the reason why I have this is because this is really annoying. There are some victims. So what happens then? The first thing is, yeah, of course you didn't. Of course you didn't order it. Of course you didn't get this packet. Yeah, we know you. Of course you didn't. That's the first thing. You need to convince that you actually didn't order it. That you didn't pick up the stuff. So I talked to Klarna HQ in Sweden. I'm so lucky that my wife is a legal person. At that point, she was in the Danish FSA. She'd written the laws applicable both for Denmark and for Sweden. So Finansinspektionen and the Danish Finanstilsyn, she knows all of this very well. So she could write some good letters for me, which silenced them eventually. I spent a lot of time on this. And I also spent some time on figuring out what can I do to prevent this from happening again. And one of the things I figured out was the Danish Parliament. They have made a rule where you can go to Archie and you could say, I want to be there, even though I have paid all my rules. They must do this. And I contacted them and I was accepted. And the reason why this is smart is because those who ask there, is he a bad payer? They cannot see why I'm in that register. They cannot see if I'm a real bad payer or I did this on purpose. So that blocks everything. It's a really good idea before you do this that you say this to your bank and your phone company. And yeah, I spent a lot of time on this. And the reason for this long story is this one. It is when we sit there with the legal and the compliance guys and we hate it, and they come with so many things, GDPR, you name it, there are people who are victims. And in this one I spend a lot of time on this. So now we are coming to what this is all about. And this here is a motivation for all of you to help make the systems robust and secure. My driver's license is lost. My CPR number is lost. It's lost forever, the CPR number, unless I get a new one, and I don't want to do that. Of course you don't. Ring a bell? All of this? So, my top recommendations, very, very high level for if you want to have some secure systems. It's two things actually. It's at the leadership level. This is something we can do another day. We have business things to solve. Very common, right? If you want it, you need to prioritize it. You need to set time aside to do this. It doesn't come for free. And then you have the people who actually does it. I'm one of them. I mean, you need to think in security. You need to think in where can this go wrong? What is the weak point in everything I do and design? It's not just it's some infrastructure guys. It's their headache. No, it's not their headache. It's also your headache. So we need to do this, all of us, when we design stuff. And I'll come with some examples now. Yeah. Questions so far? Okay. Then we come to the very, very small legal stuff. We start with the DORA. DORA is a rather new thing from the European Union. It's a regulation which is valid from the 17th of January this year. It is towards the financial industry. It's targeted towards these and it replaces actually, some of you might know this ledelsesbekendtgørelsen, if you're working in the financial industry, which has been the Bible for many years. It goes away via DORA. It's hidden very well, but it is. It's about resilience. Then you have NIS2. And NIS2 is actually something for cyber security protection in the European Union. It's the focus is what they call the law text says essential sectors. Basically, it's water supply, electricity, all of these basic things, critical things. But it also include financial companies, and it also include cloud services. That is also critical stuff. Those of you who are in the financial industry, you would recognize this one. Yeah, you were nodding. Yeah. And then the last one, which is applicable to all companies, the GDPR. It is data privacy, data protection. And the story that I just told you, I mean, I don't want to blame them here publicly. It's but you can make your own judgment if they kept some of these rules here, or many of these rules, basically. Yeah. On a very, very high level, this here is the essence. I read all the law text, all of it. It's not very interesting. This here is a condensed one, and it's from the point of view of what is called financial operators. There are some that are approved financial operators. That was done in October last year. They have a special rule set in what's called Law om Finansiel Virksomhed. And DORA Chapter 5 is the one that I'm focusing on. It's implemented in a special paragraph. You have some of the vendor requirements here. And then you can ask, why do I focus on vendor requirements and not the rest of it? This is because Snowflake, from all of you guys, if you are employed in a company, then Snowflake is a vendor to you. And you have some requirements towards the vendor, some things that you need to fulfill. That is a legal requirement. And it is those things that you have here. There are data protection, data continuity plans, many other stuff which these vendors must comply with to your company. We have NIS2 here. It's IT and cybersecurity measures, threat-based penetration testing, and reporting. That is on the next slide because it's actually very large. And then the GDPR. You heard a lot about the GDPR. I mean, basically, it can boil down to these bullets that you see here. I think very high level, master non-production environments, and it must fit purpose via shielding functionality. I've seen that implemented in very, very few companies. Many jump the fence on exactly that one, formålsforskydning, but there are ways to do this. Clients should have access to their own data. If data is old, not being used anymore, it should be deleted or anonymized. And data should be stored and retrieved only in approved countries. The last one is we have heard it many times with third-party countries and the US and all of that, the SCRIMS 2 case and all of that. That is the last bullet, basically. Very high level. We have this one here. This is again a condensed one. You need to know what is critical for your business. You need to ensure scalability. You need to make sure that things can be monitored. You need to avoid single point of failures and weak places. You need to have high level of availability. And the other things that you see there, you need to have resilience. You need to figure out if you have something unusual happening going on. You need to identify this. You need to know what to do for recovery and test it. You need to have a process internally for following up. This is many pages in 2 slides. And what I have done then is I worked for a client recently which asked me, they said to me, we have all of this law thing. We want to implement a new data platform. It was actually not Snowflake, it was a competitor, but it's the same thing. So what should we do here? Please tell us do's and don'ts. That's why I had to read through all of this. So what I've done here is that I have only taken some snippets out of it because it's actually a large area, and I hope that at least some of it will give you some value. Most of it is tech stuff. Only one is process, because the same way as you don't want to read legal stuff, then maybe the process is not so interesting. I've included a single one for AI and LLM because we're also involved in that. And now, coming to some more interesting stuff. The first one is the NIS2, that is the big one. So there we have most of them. I'll start with them. You have the legislation out there in everything I do. This one is in Danish. This is because this is implemented in Danish law. So I took the Danish thing and I made it bold, the most relevant stuff of this paragraph. I've done that through everything I'm walking through now. The first thing is the private link versus Azure integration. How many of you guys are using private link? Raise your hand. Yes, you are, I know. I know. You are, okay. One, that's Novo, and then you, of course. You also, okay. So very, very few. So what the private link is connectivity between Snowflake and your own VNet using private IP packages, basically. So that is, I'm not surprised that you have it. I don't know where you come from, but for obvious reasons. And then you would say, okay, if we have all the traffic between Snowflake and whatever we're doing, if we have that on private IP, isn't that just top notch? Isn't that the best we can do? Always. That is what I thought. At least until I digged a little bit deeper into this, because it's not. It's good for some purposes, but there are actually other purposes where public IP is better. So imagine old-fashioned server. You have two net cards inside, so you have two ways in. It's the same with the Snowflake. You have two ways in. You have a private way in. You have a public way in. If you have not done anything, then you will only have the public way in with all that follows this one. So the public way in actually comes with some advantages in some use cases compared to the private link, because the private link is not necessarily the best always, even though that would be your first idea. So the private link is connected to your own VNet, which is connected to your local net. And if you go in via VPN from at home, from your mobile, whatever, you don't know that device, you don't know where you log on from, you don't know all of these nice things that you get with the Entra, where it comes with all of these elevated prompts with Authenticator app and all of these things. Yeah, so that's the reason for the public, because it can be better in some scenarios. So choose the access path to Snowflake which offers the best protection for the use case. This is what we have done for you guys here, actually. Yeah, that's the first one. I'm out of time, okay. The next one is the rules, the RBAC, the RBAC rules. So here you have something about integrity, confidentiality. It means that only the people who have access should have access and no one else. And when I sit with customers, then this one here is the pain for most. The role, administration of the role is a pain in many organizations. If you have a lot of access roles, many, I mean hundreds of these, then it can be difficult to maintain the integrity that is asked for, because you don't know if someone has access. He cannot have access to this, but he has access to actually the same table, but by another role, because that other role is for another purpose. So therefore, if you're an administrator, if you want to guard your data and you have many, many roles, this can actually be quite difficult. I've seen that a lot of organizations, and so my recommendations for avoid the explosion in roles is, you can recognize this, those of you who, this is from a Snowflake documentation page. That is to define them always so they accumulate. Never define a role for a specific purpose. Because if you do what I have done here in red, then you will have an explosion of roles. This is the best single offer or advice I can give you if you want to keep it simple. And then you can enable secondary security roles to make it scalable. It is now enabled by default. You can also enable this in the SAML integration from the intra, so it's set up for new users by default. Snowflake does it now, but you can turn it off. If you do that, if you enable the secondary security roles, who knows what a secondary security role is? Yeah, if you enable that one, then you can avoid the red pattern very easily. If you don't, you end up with explosion of roles, which is hard to administer. Infrastructure test environment. Many places where I've been, then they come into our office one day, now someone has changed the permissions, I don't have access. Or now the network is not working. It's always these two things, it's permissions or networking. And why does this happen? This is because these guys, they don't have a dev test and live environment. They have only the live environment. It happens many places. So therefore, what we suggest is to have identical account to the main account, but empty. All the objects, no rows, no nothing. And this is here, as the law says to the right, you need to be stable. You cannot have any outrages of your system. So you deploy everything to an empty Snowflake account, and then you can actually verify it. You can hook up your Power BI towards it. You can see if it breaks anything. You can do a lot of things on the empty environment. If that empty environment is okay, then you can send your stuff to the main account. Very basic. And then you can avoid some of the problems that could occur. It's a test environment for the infrastructure guys that I'm saying here, not for the coding, but for the infrastructure. Next thing is release pipeline. If you have a release pipeline, how many has a automatic release pipeline? CI/CD, raise your hands. Can I see? Yeah, around half maybe. If you have that one, that will be a key hacker target. Why is that? This is because the service account running there, of course, has high privileges. They can do everything, nearly everything, right? So if they can come in there, then you are in big trouble. This is what happened in the US recently for these guys who send out patches to a security software product. So for Terraform, which I know a lot of people are using, Terraform open source, then instead of just using the public-private key, the public-private key is nothing but an advanced password. The downside of it is that it can be stolen. And if the private key is stolen, you have a problem, right? So instead of doing that, you can request an access token via key vault. And then you can set up OAuth client and server via Intra, and then you can have a secure integration to Snowflake. This means you can avoid the public-private key completely. And then it's OAuth 2. And if it's OAuth 2, we're home safe. Right. Next thing, private link for SaaS offering. The example here is the DBT Cloud. Again, it's stability. So if you have SaaS services and they should communicate together, how do they do this? They do it very often via public IPs. Yes, it's encrypted, yes I know, but it's public IP. So you can actually have private link also between, in this case, Amsterdam and Dublin. So you can have private IP traffic across data centers. And I know at least one very large bank in Scandinavia who is not using DBT due to concerns similar to this. But it is possible. It's also possible for AWS, AWS Frankfurt, where you can actually protect this thing. It's not easy. I would say it's not easy. You need to involve both Snowflake support and DBT support. But when you're done, this here is screenshots from DBT, where you get private endpoints. You get private link on your connections. So then you're home safe for that one. And the reason is, otherwise you need to open your Snowflake for the IPs for DBT. These IP, they can be spoofed. And then you have a vulnerability. So I'm on time. Okay, maybe I should be a little faster here. Apache Iceberg that we just saw. I need to speed up a bit. The blob storage where the tables are, that will be the primary ransomware target. If they can encrypt this one, then you're screwed, basically. You're really screwed. And then I figured out what is the problem. I can just restore a previous version. No, you can't. Yeah, you can do it, but then Snowflake won't work anymore because the cloud metadata will be out of sync. So the only option you have is to recreate the Iceberg tables in Snowflake. You can have more questions about this, the details later, but that is something to be aware of. Use the least privileged access for service account. Instead of using the built-in roles, go the extra mile, give only the grants that you need. It's very simple because there's some log inside Azure and the other one where you can actually see if it's not working, what permission it needs, and then you can add them one by one. Then the only thing I have for managing incidents is a post-mortem meeting. I've been a leader in Saxo Bank for many years. This is the most important one that I have when it comes to processes. If you have a major incident, every time, set up a meeting, call in a lot of people across teams, and there's only 2 things on the agenda, and be there and follow up on it. Because if you do that, then you're one step further into improving your organization to be a self-learner so they can do it themselves and you'll get a better thing. It's a small thing, but it makes really big difference. I need to speed a little bit up now. We have DORA. I have only one thing for DORA. That is the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room. You must have contingency. You must be able to run your business. So the problem is, the question is, can you still use the US controlled cloud and SaaS services like Snowflake? Not only Snowflake, but also the public services, the public clouds. There's no easy answer to this. It's a longer discussion, but it has been discussed at some senior levels in some companies. The only thing I have is one thing that is you should always have a regionless URL. You can see I have my name here on our Snowflake partner account. You need to do that early on. If you don't do it early on, then you have your number plate license, the Snowflake default one. You have that out in hundreds of places, and then you're stuck. Then you cannot switch. And the reason why you should switch is because maybe Hetzner or someone else in Germany, which I know someone is looking at, maybe Snowflake suddenly is there someday. And then you will be able to switch to if they do that, you'll be able to switch to a German cloud provider. I don't know if they will do this, but I just know if you have a regionless URL, you're much more flexible in switching between clouds and providers. If you have it in source code, hundreds of places, it's not so easy. GDPR, yeah, this is the one. Treat PRI as nuclear waste. Why do I say that? This is because this is a cultural thing, and everybody understands this picture. Be careful how you treat it and where you place it, because it might blow up. Right? Don't attach it to Excel sheets and so on. We have Snowflake protection in several layers. That is the security. This here is my own version of it. I worked with nearly all of these technologies. Yeah, different costs, different effort, different protection level. You also have 2 to the rights with a reduced use case. Yeah. Power BI, that's the next thing. You need to, that is also a GDPR, protect against unauthorized access or processing. So if you have a materialized Power BI, you would like to avoid storing PI information to that one. So instead, my recommendation, I've done this several places, is to use deep links. Here I have the Salesforce. If you have a top 10 list of your customers or whatever, don't mention the customer name. Have a customer number or whatever, something, and then you have a deep link to Salesforce, Microsoft CRM, whatever you got, and then as the person clicks on that link, then it's that person's credentials suddenly. You don't have anything stored in the cloud, and there are many advantages of this one. It's very easy. You don't have to think about the PII. There's no concerns about it in the cloud. You don't have to spend time on permission. That is one of the challenges. If you have a materialized Power BI data set, you need to replicate the permissions, right? Especially if it's PII. And you reduce the risk of leakage. And the last one, everybody talks about AI, nothing without AI. I also have a single one about AI that is, it's coming. Some of it is already there. The European AI Act, that's why we don't have intelligence on our iPhones, not yet, only in the US. Some of it is valid now, some of it is coming next year. So we are also getting questions about this now and then. And our approach for this one is actually to that legislation, but also this OVS ASP. It's really, how many do you know this OVSP? How many know this? Yeah, a few. This is an open source version of best practice for LLMs and GenAI. It's actually very, very, very large and really good things that you can read in this place if you want to secure your LLMs around for many, many things. Yeah, as you can see, it's soon time's up. I don't have any questions. Yeah. Okay, ready?
Brilliant. Hope we didn't make any of the listeners deaf with that bounce. Very briefly, OAuth 2. What is OAuth 2?
Yeah, sorry for this. It's because I'm deep in a hole in my everyday life.
Yeah.
Where I build IT systems and Snowflake. It's an authentication mechanism. It's regarded as on a very, very high, very secure authentication mechanism in very broad terms. Sorry for this. Yeah.
Okay, cheers.
Other questions? Then I'll say thank you very much.
Thank you.